Are you ready to heal the emotional abuse in your life? I can help you. I've done it myself. And if I can do it, you can do it. I'm going to give you some great tips on how to achieve that. I'm Carol Tuttle, and I've had massive amounts of healing in my life. I've had the opportunity to heal from a lot of childhood wounding. Emotional abuse was definitely one of them. My father's passed on. He was the primary. Well, it's interesting because he was the most kind of blatantly obvious contributor to the abuse in my life because it was very blatant and it was really an obvious outcome of his lack of parenting style. But it was interesting when I discovered sort of the hidden emotional abuse I wasn't aware of, which I'll speak to in a little bit. I'm the author of 7 books, a best-selling author, and have helped millions of people here online with my healing expertise. Please join me in my healing communities. My online healing center, the Carol Tuttle Healing Center, hosts a private Facebook group where you'll meet thousands of other people that are there as your allies and support in a very healthy way to support your healing as you're doing the work in the online healing center. It's a really remarkable experience to be a part of, and I'm grateful to help lead that community out. And please subscribe because every week I have a powerful video that will be life-changing for you. Let's get back to emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is not as obvious as the experience of physical or sexual abuse. So emotional abuse let's describe some of the ways this can happen so that you can even assess yourself to see if you have some emotional abuse in your background. If you were yelled at as a child, if that was one of your parents' primary parenting strategies, if you had parents that weren't, here's the difference. Did they guide you or did they discipline you? Meaning you were corrected a lot and you were yelled at a lot and you were enrolled from a place of fear. Now, is that still happening in your relationship anywhere? Are you yelling? You could be the one doing this to others, following out, repeating this pattern in your adult life. So yelling is a contributor to that. Were you yelled at? Are you yelling now? Are you being yelled at now? That is definitely a scenario. I've got some notes here I'm referring to. Any kind of put me downs, like I like to call it hostile humor. It's a shameful comment that's supposed to be disguised by humor. Like, oh, I'm just having some fun. Can't you laugh? Why do you take everything so seriously? So I had a lot of that in my childhood, teasing, but hostile humor is cloaked. It's a shameful comment cloaked in a humorous way of saying it that you're supposed to just laugh it off, not take it seriously, but it hurts your feelings. That's emotional abuse. Maybe you grew up with that. And now you're experiencing the same pattern in your adult life from a primary relationship in your experience. Or maybe it's at work. Maybe you've enrolled somebody to play that role for you because you've never cleared this pattern in your life yet. You're still drawing that into your experience. Invading your privacy. I do a lot of my healing plans in the online healing center have the process of journaling. And it was interesting how many people were in conflict with that because they felt very, very vulnerable, which then brought me to write and film a clearing called Fear of Journaling. And that goes back to their privacy being invaded, being disrespected, where they were not given their space or privacy as a child, and they had still experienced that in their adult life. And that exercise of journaling to help really bring up what's in your subconscious brought this forward. They were surprised as well. And I thought that's a sign of emotional abuse that you weren't given that respect. Another one is when you have been told you're just constantly being told your point of view is not right. And you're kind of beaten down by it. And you're corrected a lot. And it's not making sense, or here's the logic that they're using to correct that. That's emotionally abusive as well, rather than being received for your point of view and being heard and understood. Even if they don't agree with it, you have a right to say it. A space of speaking what's true for you. And when that's not happening, that's abusive because you just decide to shut down and not to share yourself anymore. And all of these, then you pull back, you withdraw, you energetically close the door, so to speak. Unfortunately, when you do that, every other area of your life is affected. Your health is affected, your money flow is affected, and definitely your relationship is affected because you're just setting yourself up to repeat the pattern again. And in your mind, you think, if only this person could change, if they would just treat me differently. Well, let me tell you the magic step in that. But first, share in a comment, what pattern are you seeing in yourself that's showing you may have some emotional abuse to heal in your life? I think a really broad one for most people is that hostile humor one. I certainly don't experience that anymore, but it was an issue that my husband and I had to work on that occasionally comes up once in a while, and I politely, in a very civil manner, point it out. And I do it to him. It goes both ways. These subtle put downs that get overlooked too often. But the hidden thing I wasn't aware of, my father, I said, was the one that I had a lot of wounding as a byproduct of his dysfunction. Well, the other side of that was I didn't realize I had as much healing to do from my mother's contribution of not showing up for us. She was not confident. She didn't have an active throat chakra. She didn't have an active foot and root chakra that helped her stand in her own power. She curtailed to my father's abusive nature, and she actually enabled him. And so when I discovered that one day, that there was all this healing that was on an emotional level, that I had a parent that wasn't my ally and put a voice to my father's dysfunction to stop it, that just, I remember just overcome with grief, sadness, and anger, that was so revelatory for me to know there's a lot of healing I needed to do because of that. And I did it, and now I can help you do the same. So what do you start with? Well, you need to believe you deserve to heal. In my book, Mastering Affluence, that came out a couple years ago, I teach that affluence is yours to experience, not because you go out and create it, but because it exists within you. You deserve to have affluence, ease, and joy in every area of your life. So you deserve to have an affluent relationship, meaning love, kindness, the opportunity to be your truth, speak your truth, be received for it, supported, and you to give that in reciprocity, to have a partnering experience and to support each other in that, and to be able to work things out, difficult things out in a civil, healthy adult way. That is yours for the choosing, but you first have to decide, I deserve it, and it is within the network of my energy system to allow that to become forward and created in my life. So you can have that. So awareness is your first step that you deserve affluence. Boundaries are going to be a really important thing when someone speaking up, using your voice, setting boundaries, establishing. When we teach people what we're willing to tolerate and allow in a relationship by our not having boundaries and feedback. And so politely telling, in a civil adult way, I'm not okay when you say that. Please don't make those comments to me. And then if they go into I was just kidding, you can't take a joke, repeat it. I'm not comfortable with it. It really it feels hurtful. And I thank you for supporting me in this request. You need to speak up. Ask for what you want. If you need to both sit down and say, we're doing this to each other, and I would like us to stop, what's a way we can hold each other, support each other, and reminding ourselves and each other, this isn't okay anymore. It's not uplifting our relationship, it's beating it down. So boundaries for both parties are important, inviting their feedback as well. And then if you're in a real toxic situation where it's dangerous, you need to get help. You need to reach out to either a therapist, you need to get into a codependence anonymous group, you need to get into a space where you have an ally and someone coaching you, giving you guidance in how to remove yourself from that, so that you do it in a way that's supportive to you. If you have children, that it's honoring, that it's the most effective, healthy approach. And professional assistance is important to give yourself. And there's a lot of free support, and make sure that they're skilled in those strategies so that you're being given really healthy, supportive guidance if you're at risk. Forgive yourself for this. It's really important to see the good in yourself and see the good in the relationship as well that's there for you to. My son just got a new puppy, and they're training the puppy with treats. And this is a very smart dog. It's a type 4 little Shepadoodle. Very smart. And this little 11-week-old puppy is already learning to sit and leave it and go into its little carrier. And I said, Chris, this is so evident of what we just need to do, both as parents and in our relationships, recognize their good effort. But we're always pointing out the negative. It's like, don't do that. I don't like that. Da 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 da. So keep emphasizing the positive in your experience with your significant other and in the relationships you have. You could be creating this with a child. I mean, there's a lot of places we'll create this emotional abuse. And the last tip I have is this is all unhealed patterns and conditioning from your childhood. When you start to see that commonality and go, whoa, I'm either repeating what happened with my parents or in my generations, or I'm repeating patterns I was exposed to and conditioned to in my childhood, and now I'm doing it as an adult, because that is so programmed in you to experience it. You know how to survive it. You know how to get yourself through it. And you're not familiar with creating that affluence. That's where I'm going to help you with the Child Healing Plan for Childhood Wounding, to help you release yourself from these deeply held patterns. And you can do it really easily. Go to caroltuttle.com/childhood wounding and join us for the 4-week healing plan. It will make a huge difference in every area of your life. Your inner child is calling out to you saying, I'm worn out, I'm tired, help, free me, please, free me. I don't want to live in your adult life, and this is the only way I know how to exist in these patterns. That part of you wants to be freed and healed. So you are free and healed and can create affluence. Thanks for subscribing and hitting that bell so you get a notification when I have a new video every week. I'm here to help you heal and support you in your wellness journey. Thanks for doing your part, because honestly, I can do mine, but you got to show up and do. I'm a teacher, a guide, and a healer, but you've got to be able to show up and participate. Thanks for doing that.